Welcome back to the Vale Echo. Tonight we dive into a chilling mystery that has haunted a quiet American town for over a decade, the story of Skye Budnick, a bright young woman who vanished without a trace. It was a peaceful evening in the small town she called home, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone and nothing bad ever seemed to happen. Skye Budnick, 23 years old, was seen smiling that day, a radiant light in a sleepy neighborhood. Friends remembered her as adventurous, someone who found beauty in the simplest things. That morning she packed a small backpack, locked her apartment door, and left with a purpose only she seemed to understand. Surveillance cameras at a local gas station captured her next. It was just past 7 p.m. The footage shows her car pulling up beside the pumps, a blue sedan, and Skye stepping out, glancing around briefly before refueling. The rain had just started, soft and steady, creating halos of light under the station lamps. There was nothing unusual except for what came next. She drove away, heading north, toward the forest road that locals rarely used after dark. That road stretched endlessly through pine and mist, where the signal fades and the world feels unnervingly still. Hours later, a truck driver would recall seeing a blue car parked near the highway sign, the same make, the same model, but no one inside. By morning, Skye's car was found abandoned on a remote dirt path. The doors were unlocked, the headlights still faintly glowing. Inside, her phone lay on the passenger seat, her backpack tossed to the ground nearby, half covered in mud. Police markers later dotted the scene, but there were no footprints leading away, no signs of struggle, no clue of where she had gone. The search began almost immediately. Officers scoured the surrounding woods, combing through the thick fog with flashlights and trained dogs. Helicopters traced the forest canopy from above, their searchlights cutting through the gloom. For days, volunteers from nearby towns joined in, calling her name again and again, but only the forest answered, whispering with the wind. Within a week, Skye's face was everywhere, missing posters taped to streetlights, convenience stores, and school walls. Her family appeared on local news, pleading for information, their voices trembling but hopeful. Every lead led nowhere. Every sighting was a dead end. Detectives filled their office walls with photos and maps, red strings connecting fragments of a puzzle that refused to make sense. Late at night, the lead investigator stared at the evidence under the glow of a single desk lamp, haunted by one question: how could someone just vanish? As days turned to weeks and weeks into years, Skye Budnick's story became a cold echo of loss, a name whispered through time, forever tied to that lonely road and the mystery it keeps. And yet some say, even now on quiet nights, you can still hear footsteps near that forest edge, faint, uncertain, as if someone's still trying to find their way home. When investigators arrived at the scene of Skye Budnick's disappearance, the forest seemed to hold its breath. Her car sat half hidden under a canopy of pine trees, dew glistening on the windows as the first light of dawn broke through the mist. Police tape fluttered in the cold wind, marking the spot where the mystery began. Inside the vehicle, silence. No signs of a struggle, no fingerprints out of place, and no indication that Skye had ever left the car willingly. Detectives began piecing together the timeline. Skye was last seen leaving the gas station around 7:15 p.m., heading toward Route 46, a stretch known for being isolated and unlit. Locals said that road could play tricks on your mind at night. Endless trees, the constant hum of crickets, and that unnerving feeling of being watched. Somewhere along that route, Skye simply ceased to exist. As daylight faded, the search intensified. Officers pushed deep into the woods, their flashlights cutting narrow tunnels through the fog. Search dogs barked and strained against their leashes, catching faint scents that led nowhere. Helicopters hovered above, their floodlights sweeping across treetops, glinting off the surface of a dark nearby lake. But every trace dissolved like smoke. The next day, divers entered the water, a murky expanse surrounded by reeds and stillness. They combed the depths, searching for any sign of Skye or her belongings. Hours passed and the water remained silent, nothing but ripples and shadows. Meanwhile, detectives returned to the evidence board, photographs, maps, and handwritten notes pinned under the harsh glare of fluorescent lights. One investigator noticed something strange: a page from Skye's notebook found near the car. The writing was smeared, rain-soaked, but one line stood out: sometimes the woods are louder than they should be. Rumors began to spread across town. Some claimed to have seen a dark figure near the forest edge that night, a person watching from the trees, face obscured by shadows. Others dismissed it as hysteria, the mind's trick when fear takes hold. But when officers set up cameras along the road, strange things began to appear. Unexplained lights flickered between the trees, movements with no clear source. Days turned to weeks and frustration grew. The lead detective, exhausted and sleepless, stared at Skye's smiling photo on his desk. He couldn't shake the feeling that someone or something had been one step ahead from the start, Every path, every lead ended in the same place, the forest. And then, a new clue surfaced. Near an old trail, a local hiker discovered torn notebook pages scattered among the roots. Muddy footprints, too faint to track, surrounded them. The final page read, "If you find this, it's already too late." For the team, it wasn't just another missing person case anymore. It had become an obsession, a story that blurred the line between crime and something unexplainable. The forest seemed alive, guarding its secrets in the wind, the shadows, and the silence that followed. And for those who searched for Skye Budnick, one truth became clear. The road she took that night wasn't just a path through the woods, it was a passage into something far darker. Months passed, but the case of Skye Budnick refused to fade. Her disappearance had become a ghost story whispered through the streets of her hometown. Every diner, every gas station, every quiet porch held someone with a theory and none with the truth. The Budnick case, as it came to be known, was now a cold file buried deep in the county archives, sealed in a folder marked Unsolved. Detectives who once filled their office walls with maps and photos had moved on to new cases, yet the memory of Skye lingered like fog that refused to lift. Late one night, the lead investigator sat alone in his dimly lit office. The clock ticked, the lamp flickered. And before him lay the same evidence he'd stared at for years, her smiling portrait, the map of the forest road, and the single word scrawled across her journal: "Listen." The detective replayed every possibility. Was it an abduction, a runaway, or something more elusive, a crossing into the unknown? The more he thought, the less it felt like a crime and more like a haunting. The locals spoke of strange sounds near the old lake, whispers in the wind, faint footsteps on nights with no one around. A group of paranormal researchers visited the area, hoping to document the energy left behind. Their footage showed eerie details: shadows moving behind trees, lights flickering deep within the woods, and one recording distorted, muffled, of what sounded like a woman calling faintly for help. The voice was never identified, but when enhanced, it carried a chilling tone that many believed was Skye. As the years went on, time blurred the line between fact and folklore. People reported seeing a young woman's figure standing on the side of that same forest road, long brown hair, denim jacket, and eyes that reflected the moonlight. Drivers who passed said she vanished when headlights met her. Some even claimed to hear her footsteps in the stillness, fading into the trees. At the town's annual remembrance vigil, her parents still placed candles beneath her missing poster, the same one that had weathered rain, wind, and time. The ink was faded, the edges torn, but her name still shone through: Skye Budnick. The narrator's voice softens, the camera drawing in close on the worn case file. The folder closes slowly, the label barely visible under years of dust: Skye Budnick missing, no resolution. The scene fades to a dark forest road, moonlight spilling over the pavement. The wind rustles softly through the trees, carrying a faint echo, a whisper, almost like her name. It's as if the forest itself remembers what happened that night, even if no one else ever will. Because some mysteries don't end with answers, they end with silence and the echo of a voice that never truly disappeared. And somewhere under the veil of night, the story of Skye Budnick still waits to be found.